Hello, how are you all doing today? Hope you're doing great. I am Jessica Juckstock with Mommy Knows Tech. Those of you who have been in my digital intentionalism group for a little while already know that, already know who I am. So today we are going to be talking about some of the advantages of digital decluttering. A couple of weeks ago in the private Facebook group, we looked at this from the other angle where we talked about some of the downsides of having digital clutter, like the negative effects that can have on your life. So today we're just going to switch that conversation a bit and talk about it from the opposite perspective. So as you're joining in, please say hello. You know, I love to see your comments, your hearts, whatever you want to leave me, just so that I know you're there. I know you're watching. I know that the content is making sense to you and you're engaging with it. If you're watching on the replay, please absolutely say hello. I don't want to miss you just because you weren't here live. It's just as important to me when you watch on the replay as when you watch live. So please say hello. And we will go ahead and jump into this content. So I have today for you 10 advantages of digital decluttering. Many of these come from a Kindle book that I've been reading by S.J. Scott. It's called 10-Minute Digital Declutter. If you want more information about that book, I'd be happy to, pass it on to you in a comment or whatever. Just let me know. So I took many of the ideas from there. I've kind of reworked some of them a little bit to look at them more from like my perspective as a computer scientist and someone who's been researching this for a little while. Some of them I've like combined together. Some I got rid of entirely, but we got this down to 10 ideas, and I know 10 sounds like a lot, but I'm going to go through them fairly quickly, so it's not going to take forever. And please, if you have questions as I'm going along, please feel free to drop those in the comments. Let me know what your questions or comments are, and I'll try to address those as we go along. So advantage number one of digital decluttering is that it can speed up your computer, phone, or tablet. And this is actually one that we talked about 2 weeks ago when we talked about the disadvantages of having a cluttered digital workspace, digital world. When you have too much stuff on your computer or on your phone, too many files, too many apps, too many photos, whatever it is that you have stored on your computer, it's actually going to slow down your computer because it doesn't have enough space to do its processing in. So as you clear out that space and get rid of like the extra stuff that's on your device, you'll find that your computer speeds up. I actually read kind of a funny anecdote the other day when I was looking at some stuff on this topic. And this girl was talking about how for the whole, like however many years she'd had her MacBook, she had never once deleted anything from the downloaded files folder. Like she didn't even know that stuff accumulated there. And she noticed that her computer was running really, really slow. She's like, what's wrong with my computer? So she took it to like the Genius Bar at Apple, and they're like, oh, you just need to clean out your downloads folder. Like, oh, okay. So it took them like 10 minutes and her computer was so much faster after that. So word to the wise, if your computer's slow, check your downloads, check your temporary files, and just overall clean up your computer or your phone, and you should see a significant speed up there. All right, so advantage number two of digital decluttering is that it can boost your productivity, focus, and concentration. This is something that we've talked about quite a bit in the free Facebook group. We talk about how notifications are so distracting. They pull you away from the current task. So basically, looking at notifications is an attempt to multitask, and our brains were not wired for multitasking. It actually takes somewhere in the vicinity of 90 seconds to recover from an interruption, and notifications are just interruptions. Multitasking is just you constantly interrupting yourself as you bounce from one task to the other. So you're going to find that there's a significant drop in productivity, focus, and concentration when you are digitally cluttered. When you start to declutter, then you will see increases in your productivity, your focus, and your concentration. You'll have less time lost finding the files that you need or the tasks that you need to accomplish, and you're going to find that you get a lot more done. All right, so number three, the getting digitally decluttered will strengthen the security of your computer. And this is one that we talked about 2 weeks ago, where if you have like old software, on your phone or on your computer, that basically, those things will often not be patched. And so they will have security vulnerabilities in them. And if they're just sitting there and you're not even thinking about them, well, an attacker can use those to get into your computer or into your phone or whatever it is. So if you're not using stuff, delete it. If it's like a sketchy app that you're not sure about, then maybe you shouldn't be using it in the first place, and just delete those kinds of things from your phone, from your computer, and you will find that you have a more secure ecosystem to work in your digital space. Another way that it can strengthen the security of your computer to get digitally decluttered is if you are decluttering your passwords, like putting all of your passwords into a secure central location so that you can easily access them, which means that you can use more secure passwords, more random passwords, without having to worry about whether or not you can remember them later. So that's another way that you can increase your security by getting digitally decluttered. All right, so that was number 4. Number 5, getting digitally decluttered can boost your confidence. This was actually an interesting one. When I read it in the Kindle book, I was like, how can it boost your confidence? And then I read it and I was like, okay, that makes sense. So think about like when you have a really big project that you have to accomplish, and decluttering your digital world is like a huge project. But once you have accomplished that, you've gotten digitally decluttered, then you can feel a lot better about yourself for having completed such a big project. You'll get confidence from the increase in time and energy and concentration that you will gain from decluttering your digital world. You'll be getting done more of what matters to you. And those are going to be huge boosts in your confidence. You're going to feel a lot better about yourself because you're getting done the things that are important to you. Advantage number 6, digital decluttering can make you more disciplined. This one's kind of interesting because digital decluttering is a habit, right? It's not like something you just do once and then you never have to think about again. It's like a I don't want to say constant, but it's a continual process that you will have to revisit all the time to make sure that things are never getting out of control. Because it's really easy to let things get out of control, right? It's like, it's like cleaning your house and then thinking my house is clean, so I never have to clean it again. It doesn't work that way, right? It starts to get dirty again. And so you have to stay on top of it. You have to keep cleaning things up. And it's the same thing with your digital world. So it's a good habit. It's a habit that you'll be developing. And we all know that habits require some form of discipline, right? So you'll use some form of discipline to help you do these habits. As you are doing the habits, you will continue to develop more self-discipline because it's something that as you practice it, it becomes stronger. It's like exercising. You're exercising your self-discipline. And so it's sort of like a circular effect. The more you practice good habits, the more disciplined you'll be. The more disciplined you are, the more you can practice good habits. And it just kind of keeps going like that. Not that we'll be perfect, but we can be continually improving ourselves as we practice our discipline. Okay, so then advantage number 7 is being digitally decluttered. And I really love this one. Being digitally decluttered invites creativity. We don't have time to be creative when we're being constantly distracted by notifications, by multitasking, by like just checking Facebook one more time, which, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. Like this is something that I have to be mindful of because I get sucked in by it all the time too. And that's why this is like a journey. It's a process. It's not like a one and done thing and oh, poof, you're perfect. You got to figure it out. No, this is like a lifetime process. But when we're constantly distracting ourselves, we don't have time to be creative. We don't have like the mental space to be creative because we're always stuffing more stuff in there and never like taking the time to kind of think about our thoughts and put them out there into new thoughts. There are studies that show that boredom or brain downtime where we're not like putting more in and we're just sitting there with our thoughts is essential for creativity. And this is one of the reasons why I think it's so good for kids not to have a ton of screen time, because that's going to be addictive. They're going to want to do that instead of getting bored and expressing any kind of creativity. And so like with our kids, we actually have very, very limited screen time. And most of the time we're just like, if they're bored, then okay, well, you go build something, get out your blocks, get out your Legos, or get out some paper and draw and practice being creative and getting digitally decluttered so that you're not being constantly distracted and you're not constantly focusing your time and attention on your digital world will help you to be more creative. Advantage number 8, this is another great one, is that being digitally decluttered will improve your relationships, because the more time we spend online, the less time we're spending with our loved ones, right? How many of you have ever experienced this? I know we have experienced it in our house 100%. And when you have that feeling of like, oh, just a few more minutes to check this one thing or to look at this other thing or like to take care of this other thing I'm thinking about, that's a trap. Like it is, right? Because we think just a few more minutes, we go do that thing. Then we think just a few more minutes, I'm almost done. Okay, we do that thing. Okay, just a few more minutes. I have this one other thing I want to do. And the next thing you know, it's been like 5 hours or however long. And we haven't spent any time with our loved ones. We've just been sitting in the same room with them, like scrolling our phones. And this happens in my house, even with me being so focused on having like an intentional digital world, like my husband and I get sucked into it. So it's just something that we have to be mindful of. We have to be decluttering our digital worlds, getting rid of the things that are going to be sucking us in like that. And then there's also the factor that if you don't know where things are, so this is more like the data, the clutter at rest idea that I've talked about before, rather than the clutter in motion, where it's like the files that you have stored, the photos that you have stored, whatever it is that you need. If it takes you more time to find that stuff, then you're going to be spending more time on your computer, and it's going to take even more of your time away from spending with the people who matter to you. So you'll find, I think, improvements in your relationships when you declutter your digital life. Okay, advantage number 9 is that being digitally decluttered helps you to prioritize. And the reason it does this is that when you are going through the process of getting decluttered and getting organized, and then as you're doing like the maintenance of it as you go on in your life, you're going to be you're going to have to be making decisions about whether or not to keep something, whether or not it's important to you. And as you're making those decisions, you're going to have to be assessing like, what is important to me? Why do I care about keeping this? Is this something that is worth keeping to me? And this will kind of have a snowball effect on you, because it'll start with small decisions like, should I keep this article that I wanted to read, or should I just delete that bookmark? Okay. Then that's going to get to be bigger decisions as you start to have to think about bigger things, whether you want to keep them or not. For example, like, should I be saving so many bookmarks at all? Okay, so as like a personal example in kind of the physical world, not talking specifically about the digital world, but when I started, I read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up several years ago. It might have been like 3 years ago. And I decided that this was something I was going to start implementing, because I was tired of having so much stuff and like not knowing where things were and feeling like I was just constantly fighting to keep things tidy and organized. And like, I just wanted to get rid of things. I didn't want to have lots of extra things to think about. And so I started decluttering. I started with my clothes. It seemed kind of like the easiest thing to start with, because it was like, it's the stuff that's mine in our house. And so that's like, I am the sole decision maker on these things. And as I started decluttering my physical world, I found that I had less of a desire to buy things. When I went out shopping, when I was like looking on, Amazon, whatever, like I didn't want to buy a ton of stuff, because I knew what that decision-making process was like when I had to decide whether I was going to get rid of something or not. And I realized that I was content with what I had, and I didn't want to buy things that I'd end up not wanting and that I'd end up having to make that decision to get rid of in the future. And I think it's really similar in our digital lives. Like, the more digitally decluttered I get, the less I want to be bringing that clutter into my house, because I know what it feels like not to have it. And I know like that decision process of having to get rid of something. And I have established priorities on what is important to allow into my digital life and what is not important. So there are like apps I don't install because I know, like, even if I install that, I'm going to delete it because I know if I have it there, it's going to be taking, my brain cycle. So why would I even install it in the first place if I know that I'm just going to end up deleting it? So really helpful for helping you prioritize. All right. And finally, we get to number 10, the 10th advantage of digitally decluttering. And this is kind of a fun one. It helps you discover lost stuff. How many times has this happened to you when you have been physically decluttering? You come across something and you're like, oh, I forgot I even had that. And sometimes it's kind of fun, right? Like you find, memorabilia of special events that happened in your life, and you get to go down memory lane as you think about these things. And similar things happen in your digital world. You find lost files, lost photos, lost documents, like interesting things that you wrote and you forgot that you wrote, like interesting information that you forgot that you wanted to pursue. And it's really kind of an interesting thing to like sort of have your mind like transported back to that time, or, rediscovering lost interests, that kind of thing. So really kind of a neat advantage of decluttering is resurfacing those positive things in your life that you had sort of forgotten about. So let me know which of these advantages sounds the most fun to you. Which would you most like in your life? And let me know that in the comments. That we had number 1 was speeding up your computer, phone, or tablet. Number 2, boosting your productivity, focus, and concentration. Number 3 is strengthening the security of your computer or phone. And number 4 is reducing stress and frustration. Number 5 is a boost in your confidence. I'm trying to put my hand here where you guys can see it on the video. Number 6 is becoming more disciplined. Number 7 is that getting digitally decluttered invites creativity. Number 8 improves your relationships. Number 9 helps you to prioritize. And number 10 is finding lost stuff, getting to rediscover those old things. So let me know which one is most interesting to you, sounds most fun to you. And if this is a topic that you want to pursue further, then I highly recommend that you take a look at my pilot course. Let me come back to this. I need to edit this real quick. My Untethered, Your Digital Decluttering System, Untethered 101. You can go to this page right here to check it out. I am going to be working with a small group of people for 6 weeks this summer, helping them to get their digital life in order by establishing a system for dealing with the digital clutter and making sure that it doesn't accumulate, knowing what to do with things, knowing how to manage and prioritize their time. So if this sounds like something that you need, please go take a look at the page that is on the little banner below my picture on this video. And please, if you found this video valuable, I would love it if you would share it with people who need to hear it. Maybe don't tell them that they need to hear it. Maybe just put this as like, this was an interesting thing that I thought you might enjoy. And I hope that you all got some value from this content. Please let me know what you found most valuable, and I will talk to you all again next week. All right, bye-bye.